This happened 4 years ago when I was a sophomore in college. I typically avoided relationships, if they weren't mine or if they were, mostly because of how busy college kept me. So I think you get the point. Aside from that, I had healthy relationships with friends and went out occasionally. My roommate, Piper, had this boyfriend she brought over every night and only to bang. It was boring and I got tired of all the fucking and decided to move out. A month or two later, I moved in with my new roommate Jenna. Piper and her boyfriend broke up. But it wasn't the average, it's not you, it's me. It was for a bigger reason, and apparently I was involved. Piper texted me at 10 p.m. and said the following: "How fucking dare you? Must you really destroy my happiness?" I texted back, "What the hell are you talking about?" And she proceeded with, "My boyfriend said he can't be with me because he had feelings for someone else. And it was you." I was stunned, then responded with, "I don't know him, and you should get over it. All you two did was fuck anyway," and I left it there. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was blown up with texts. I didn't even bother checking, I just clicked my app so the notifications went away. For the next few weeks, weird events had been occurring. My jewelry being missing, and plus even a smashed photo of me and my mom on the ground one night when I got home. After that, I remember going up to Jenna and yelling at her, but she insisted that it wasn't her. The sincerity in her voice told me she wasn't lying. She had nothing to be mad at me for. No one else knew about the little spare key under the plant outside our door but Jenna and I. So someone would have to deliberately look for some sort of way to get through the door. I checked the plant and sure enough the key was missing. I called campus security and the next day they sent 2 men over to check out everything. They didn't find anything, but they said we should talk to the advisor of our building on getting our locks changed. I really didn't want to go through that, and now I regret not doing it, but the story must continue. A day or so later, someone knocked at my door, and to my surprise it was Piper's ex-boyfriend. "Hey, Piper has been sending me all type of threats. Can you text her to chill out?" She says, "You two still text?" I responded with, "I haven't texted her in weeks. She needs to lay off." "Sorry, dude. I can't help you." "No, you don't get it. The threats are so bad. Can I show you?" he asked. I agreed, and when he showed me, I was disgusted. This girl was sick, and since he chose not to report it, the only word I could give him was to stay safe. That night I was working on a paper on some writer and what he did to protect whatever, and I kept hearing footsteps in the living room. I got up to go check because it was weird if Jenna were to wake up at 3 a.m. and all I could think was she got up to go get food somewhere. I walked out and it was completely dark. I couldn't see anything except my lamp from my room illuminating a little bit of the couch. "Jenna, is that you?" I waited and then heard a voice say, Yeah. I have a headache. Am going to the store." That was not Jenna's voice. I made the brave decision to play along. "Hold on, Jenna, let me get you money. I won't turn on the light." "Okay?" I said. The voice silently whispered, "Okay." I walked back in my room and looked for some sort of weapon, turned off the light, and then stood in the door frame. "Come here, the light's off so it won't strain your eyes." The person started walking over towards the door frame. The only weapon I had was a very sharp hanger that I had broken off a while back. She came closer. As I heard her footsteps nearing, I remembered there was a light switch next to my door and I switched it on. The light flooded into the room fast, and to my horror it was Piper's ex-boyfriend. I quickly thrusted my foot at his knee and kneed him in the groin. He was on the floor, and I yelled out Jenna's name. Jenna rushed in and screamed. I yelled, "Call the police or campus security or someone quick." She pulled her phone off the counter and quickly dialed someone up. I noticed in his hand was the key from under the pot. This whole time I figured Piper was doing all this snooping around and that Piper would be the one I would see when I switched the light on. I was so wrong. Eventually police came and took him down to the station and took a statement from me. I called the police a few days after the incident, but they didn't tell me a word. Jenna's brother works for the police station and she invited him over to get details because he was assigned to work on the case as well as others. He asked me a bunch of questions about what texts I received and all that, but the problem was I didn't check them, but I showed them and he asked, "Did Piper usually write like this?" I looked and it was nothing like how Piper's grammar was. After that he told me everything. Accordingly, Piper's ex wasn't the one who broke up with Piper. Piper broke up with him and he was so mad he pushed her down and stole her phone. He apparently always had some weird infatuation with me, and long story short, the sick creep was breaking into my house, pretending to be Piper and sending threats to himself and I in order to receive my sympathy. The most disturbing thing was that there was rope in his jacket pocket. What he planned to do with it I don't know, but it's so weird to think about. So after hearing all that, it was enough to make me decide to file a restraining order. He couldn't be anywhere near me in a 100-mile radius. I moved schools after that and went to a bigger city in Northern California. He got put in jail for a short time. And now 4 years later, I still keep in touch with Jenna. Jenna told me that when he got out he asked a lot about me. No one told him because it was a small town and word travels very fast. Apparently, he found a girlfriend and moved away somewhere I don't care to know about. All I know is that I hope that girlfriend is as crazy as he is or smart enough to leave. Piper and I reconnected when it was my senior year in my new college and we are still friends. It freaks me out to know that he was in the same dorm with me and I had no clue. So people, please be very careful. I doubt any of you want this to happen to you. This happened to me in college when I lived with my roommate, Michelle. It was our freshman year, and our dorm building had 4 different wings. 2 were boys and 2 were girls. Our wing was connected to another by a door down the hall, which led to a boys' wing. All floors in each wing were the same sex, and boys only had access to the girls' wings through that connecting door, which you had to have a key card for. They were locked at all times, and the key cards only worked for that dorm. I had known Michelle for a long time, and we loved the girls on our floor. We would all hang out often, and during the week, and sometimes weekends, whoever would be home would leave their door open so we could stop in, hang out, whatever. We never had a problem, and sometimes guys would take shortcuts to their wing from campus through our floor. No big deal, and we got to know the guys who did this often. Most often they all said hey if our doors were open, and continued on their way. One day, our friend April got quiet when there were about 6 of us in our room, and I noticed. I asked her what was the matter, and she said, "Dude, did you not see that guy that walked by? I've seen him before. He's fucking creepy and never says anything, just stares at us." We all looked at each other and said no. She shrugged and said if he came by again she would let us know. About an hour later, after watching some of a reality show, she hits Michelle in the arm. We all look up, and there is a tall guy with longer hair, wearing all black, walking slowly by. Says nothing and stares at us, but looks away when we all look up. He leaves, and we look at each other. We chalk it up to him being lost, since we haven't seen him before, and resume watching TV. I talked to Michelle later though, and we agreed to keep a lookout and let the rest of the girls know to do the same, just in case. We begin to see this dude on our floor all the time, sometimes multiple times a day. It began to get ridiculous when we would all be changing/getting ready to go out, and he would walk by 3 to 4 times, doing nothing but staring and walking slower than necessary. Once he walked by 6 times, and we moved to one room and shut the doors. He clearly lived in the building, because his key card worked on the locked door, and he would be there daily. We began feeling uncomfortable leaving our doors open, even when there were multiple people home and doing so. We asked the guys we knew across the hall on our floor if he lived there. No, he didn't, and they actually got concerned when we told them what was going on. One of the RAs on one of the guys' floors said if it continued or got weirder, to talk to our RA. He offered to try to find out where this dude lived for us. I'd like to say it didn't get weirder, but it did. One day I went to our dorm computer room to print off notes for a psych class and prep a project I was going to turn in the end of the week. Creepy Bro sits next to me and starts surfing the net as I'm sitting down to do my thing on the computer. I felt ice cold. Everyone had laptops before tablets were a thing, and it felt odd he arrived almost the exact same time. I print my shit off and leave quickly. I head to my psych class, and as I get to the psych building/walk to my class, notice he followed me. I was stressed out the entire class and left from a different exit in the lecture hall. He was still milling around as I left, and hoped to God he didn't see me as I practically ran home. I get back, breathless, and Michelle asks what's wrong. I tell her, and she looks spooked. I go, "What?" and she shows me her Facebook. Creeper friended her, and his name is listed as Juan, and the photo is him in his underwear. I check mine, same fucking thing. We knock on a few girls' doors. 6 other people also got friend. We said nope to that, practically pounded our RA's door down, and said what had been going on, and I told her what just happened to me at class. One of the other girls swore he followed her as well. She panicked and said to block him online and she would take care of it. After that, we never saw him again. We don't know what they did, but he wasn't on our floor the rest of the year and never really found out where he lived in the building. Our RA told us later there wasn't anyone named Juan in the entire building. I lived on the top floor of my dorm sophomore year. Had a great roommate and was surrounded by friends on the floor. Since we were on the top floor, no one really came up unless they lived there, and the 4th floor community was so nice we never really gave mind to keeping our doors locked, especially on weeknights when people didn't really drink or party. We would lock it when we remembered, but we wouldn't sweat it if we forgot. One weeknight, at about 3 a.m., I'm fast asleep and so is my roommate. We hadn't locked the door. I'm usually a heavy sleeper, even through loud noises or bright lights, yet for some reason I wake up. Nothing woke me up. No noise, no light, not even the almost naked person standing next to my bed, staring at me. I was too confused and exhausted to be scared or to even comprehend the situation. He was a male student, white, tall, fairly built, and only wearing underwear. I stared back at him. I can't remember if I told him to leave or if he left on his own. If I did, it was in a normal speaking voice, though now I would probably scream at him. I watched him walk out and close the door behind him. My roommate slept through all of this. More confused than scared, I got up, locked the door, and immediately fell back asleep. The next morning, I was convinced it was just a weird dream. Then I checked the door. It was still locked. We didn't lock the door last night. It was definitely real. My roommate didn't believe me until I told him about the lock. We checked our belongings. Nothing was stolen or even moved. I told the RA, who was shocked that I didn't scream, and honestly, so was I. From the way the guy acted, we speculated that he was either drunk or high and went to the wrong room thinking it was his, or he could have been sleepwalking. He didn't look like anyone on the floor or anyone I knew in the building, but the incident was so brief and late that my memory was foggy even the next day. Perhaps it's not shocking that something like this happened in a college dorm, but to us it was significant and very freaky. Similar incidents happened with other people on our floor, but the people who trespassed on them were not tall white guys. Also, those incidents occurred on weekends. I still have no idea who it was or what was wrong with him, and I'm sure I'll never know. We locked our door every night from then on.